we know what Prince Harry's real new job in Montecito is. He is simply going to be used by Meghan Markle to merch was never. We knew this moment was coming, didn't we? It was inevitable that it was coming. There he is, barefoot in the study, ready for his shot, ready to take that sweet, awful chocolate. You were a goddamn prince of the realm. You could have met anyone. You could have done anything. And this is where it's ended up. As Tom Sykes put it, how the mighty have fallen. What I found quite astonishing is that there is this real push by Team Montecito, which a lot of the mainstream media are buying into, to suggest that this is in some way a cute development, in some way, some sort of nice touch, because Harry said, "love you," at the end of the video, no doubt under threat of harassment and bullying if he did not, given all of the rumours about how miserable he's been lately, including in that Page 6 expose. But this is how GB News, my former employer, I can't believe what's happened to them, decided to sell the story. Meghan Markle shares rare insight into £21.4 million mansion in sweet video with Prince Harry. Honestly, GB News, you're sounding more like Narinder Kaur by the day. You know, the Sussex Squad propagandist and race baiter who posted, "Whilst the monarchy crumbles with the weight of Prince Andrew's involvement with Epstein, Harry and Meghan living their best life, free, untainted from this utter filth and eating chocolate. Nothing says so glad we ran than this." Let me tell you, if you think this is a positive thing, Narinder Kaur, you need your head read. As the Royal News Network proclaimed, things must be getting desperate if Meghan Markle's roping Prince Harry in for an as-ever promo. I would bet every dollar I own that Harry doesn't really care for the white chocolate bar, Meghan's most unpopular flavour, and the one she can't seem to move. At least show him eating it, because yes, that's true, actually. Watch this video. Clearly it was all planned. She's purposefully got a shot of the dog, made sure that Harry's bare feet, I mean, as lots of people pointed out, don't really want to be walking on those tiles in bare feet, but of course that fits. They no longer work side by side in the office, which used to be the thing, didn't it? Like, we're just so inseparable. Our lives are so intertwined. No, Harry now has his own workspace. Meghan is delivering him the chocolate. But just watch this and see if you agree with me that this is actually the tragic downfall of a duke who at one point had so much promise, or as GB News puts it, sweet.
Hello.
Hello.
Ooh. Yes, please.
White chocolate.
Thank you.
You got it.
Love you.
Oh, God, he can't act. He can't act. That is actually sad to see. Thank you. Love you. Say it, Harry. Here's Tom Sykes. It is hard to overstate how odd this film is. A royal duke who is still fifth in line to the throne is flogging candy on Instagram. There is something not just undignified, but faintly bewildering about Harry's direct-to-consumer hustle. It's really best left to reality stars and retired athletes, sir. The contrast with Princess of Wales' latest Instagram film, a video speaking about her cancer treatment, a piece of communication notable for its restraint, lack of profit motive, and emotional intelligence could hardly be starker. Watching Harry ham and mug for the camera over a gift box of confectionery, one cannot help but feel the yawning gap between those two worlds. What makes Meghan's new short especially uncomfortable is the sense that when Harry left the family, the promise was impact and influence. It was, we were told, a new hybrid model of post-royal relevance of universal service. The reality, at least in this small moment, but telling one, is crappy chocolate and an Instagram reel. One wonders, watching it, whether Harry ever pauses to reflect on the fact that this is the trade he made and whether it was worth it. Well, I mean, according to Taz, royal YouTube sensation who joins me now, we know it's not worth it. Like, that is so obvious it is not worth it. But I think it's very clear he was forced to do this. And this was always the risk, wasn't it? When she decided, oh, you go off and do your philanthropy and don't make any money. I'm going to be the breadwinner. She is in control. He has no choice. This is humiliating. Deep down, he must know it. He has no choice. There is a metaphorical gun to his head. Meghan Markle is holding it. Do you want to stay in this goddamn mansion? You flog my shitty chocolate. I'm Tash. I mean, I'm sorry, but you can probably tell I am really shocked by this one.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it was just the cringe factor, Dan. I mean, it was so painfully contrived. It is that whole setup. We're trying to look relatable. Meghan is very big. She thinks being relatable is about showing her bare feet. If you remember back, she was relatable when she went to hug Catherine and William the first time she met them. She was barefoot. Meghan, when she invites people into her home, when she's hostessing, she opens the door barefoot. You know, the whole thing when she was in the kitchen cooking, Meghan again, barefoot. She's got a thing for feet, obviously. She spent most of her career hiding hers. She reportedly even told photographers, don't take a picture of my feet. But now apparently her feet are part, or Harry's feet are part of the marketing. But Harry, it's the way he holds up the chocolate bar, which tells me this is fake. It's the way it's presented to him in the tray. This is just a typical influencer moment. I'm surprised he didn't hold the chocolate bar up to the side of his face and tap it with his nails, like you see all these young influencers doing, like tap, 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 tap. It was that painful to watch. And it is, Royal News Network, Brittany is completely correct here. It is the one bar that is not selling. This is the one she tried to do the big Valentine's Day package, $185. Please, I would be fuming, raging if my husband spent that much on some crap like that. I would be so mad. But then she downsized it so you could split it and get fewer things for a bit more of an affordable price. And then, of course, the thing that has not sold out is that white chocolate. So I'm sorry. It's just far too convenient that Harry, who famously we know has always loved chocolate, he is much like his brother. There's been lots of stories about Harry loves chocolate cake. It's never been white chocolate, but now all of a sudden she can't shift something. Harry's favorite chocolate is, of course, white chocolate with none other than her favorite flour sprinkles, bringing joy to all.
Gross. Yeah. And I mean, look, this is what happens, Tash, when everyone leaves your employ and you're in charge of your own publicity. Because goodness, I used it on the show earlier in the week, but I so loved your collage of pictures comparing and contrasting Meghan Markle's bizarre Valentine's Day photo with some famous horror movies, Tash, and you said it was the same vibe. And I was just like, yep, you've got it in one. She has no sensible adults in the room anymore. She's got no one telling her no.
She just looked completely neurotic in this. I mean, I don't know really. It just popped into my head straight away. She did look like that moment with it. But it's just bizarre. I mean, I don't understand her marketing at all. I don't think she really does. It's clear that she doesn't have any professionals working with her behind the scenes. I mean, even amateur influencers can promote products a lot better than what Meghan does. And now she's roped in Harry out of sheer desperation. But it's strange for me to watch her because she's a few years older than me. So Meghan, I would say, is closer to 50. And she poses in these pictures that don't look weird on Instagram when it's a young girl doing it, when it's a teenager or a 20-something posing. But to see a woman this age who has been doing the same thing since she was on Deal or No Deal, pulling the exact same expression when she was dressed in a little Santa outfit, leaning over the host's knee in Deal or No Deal, and it's the same fake grin and the hunched over and everything's so funny. It's so painfully inauthentic. I think it just makes me feel embarrassed for her. It's secondhand embarrassment, but it's clearly obvious that she never listened to anybody, even though she had access to some of the best staff that have worked with political leaders. They have been involved with campaigning for presidents. She has had access to some of the best executives that have come on board to help her when she briefly was part of the royal family. But then also with Archewell, she has got hold of some big names that have worked for people like Bill Gates, that, she had access to people that could have really propelled her into some sort of stardom. But because she quite clearly doesn't listen to anybody, it's just lurching from one disaster to the next. And yeah, I mean, her posing with balloons like a clown, it's kind of perfect, really, at this point.
Yeah, well, this was the week where it also appeared that she lost Kris Kardashian too, because Rob Shooter reporting that she called up to complain about Kim and Khloe's podcast. And I just can't imagine that would have gone down with Kris, even though, in fairness to Kris, it does seem like she wants to make it clear that she hasn't fallen out with Meghan. There's been a couple of Instagram supportive posts. But look, let's be honest, if there's one thing we know about Kris, fundamentally, she is going to side with her daughters over anyone else.
Absolutely. Say what you like about the Kardashians. Yes, they've sold every single tiny part of their life to make money, and they've been very successful at it. They are, as a combined family, billionaires. I think a couple of them are touching on that marker alone just by their own fortunes.
Yeah, I think
Kylie,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty epic. She's the ultimate momager, but she is a mom at, foremost. She is a mother. She will protect her girls. And I did love the way Kim, where you could tell Khloe was more pissed about this, but it was the way Kim just said, she's got a lovely relationship with my mum. It's really sweet. And that's like putting Meghan in that age bracket as well. I just thought it was a double kind of bitch slap. It was it was definitely a pushback. And I say fair play to the Kardashians for doing that, though. It was quite serious what Meghan said. She did put out quite a rather large lie when she decided to talk about that there was a contract, a no photo contract, and she signed it and they went against it. So Kim had every right to push back on that one. Absolutely.
She really did. She really did. Now, look, back here in the United Kingdom, Tash, this has been a difficult week for the British royal family, and I want to get at it from a couple of different angles. A lot of people now reporting that the King's approach to this is putting Prince William under growing pressure. Now, this week, I have to be honest, that the real positivity in the monarchy has come from Catherine and William. Here they were with the Archbishop of Canterbury yesterday. We obviously referred earlier in the show, and I obviously played it earlier in the week. Catherine's cancer video was such a joy. Her visit to Wales was such a joy. Look, it could just be a coincidence, but on that solo visit, she has been the only member of the royal family this week not to be directly targeted by either members of the public or journalists over the Epstein mess. But this is what happened, Tash, all across the week. I've put all of these instances together. Watch.
Charles! Charles! Have you pressurised the police? He's not investigating Andrew.
Thank you for coming. Will the royal family help the Epstein investigation? Do you have a message for Epstein's victims, Your Majesty?
But how are you coping with that?
Well, with the best will in the world, I'm not sure this is the audience that is probably the least bit interested in that. So they all came here to listen to about education solving the future.
How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
Have you been covering up for Andrew?
Now, Tash, I do think it is worth sharing this message from the Royalist Society, because we have had a very one-sided approach in terms of all of the coverage in the mainstream media. So this is what the Royalist Society has now gone public with. Over the past week, there has been a spate of incidents where journalists have heckled members of the royal family during official engagements, seeking to confront them about the conduct of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Members of the royal family are not responsible or accountable for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's moral transgressions. To harangue them during public duties is extremely and unduly discourteous and undermines the important civic purposes those engagements intend to serve. His Majesty the King acted decisively to remove Andrew Mountbatten Windsor from public life, divesting him of his dignities and styles, depriving him of his income, and finally, in the last 2 days, evicting him from Royal Lodge. We urge journalists to uphold the standards of their own profession and afford the royal family appropriate respect and courtesy during official duties. Now, Tash, I actually don't totally agree with that, but I do think it is important to present both sides of this. See, my take is more nuanced. If the royal family continues to feel like it's publicly burying their head in the sand, then this is why they will get these types of questions asked. Actually, I would argue the royal rota in a way are too supine, too part of the British royal family, that sometimes they do never ask questions. And you have also raised another issue in terms of the British royal family this week, posting it would have been the perfect time to take those two, referring to Harry and Meghan, off the website, have the page for working royals only. Leaving them on there gives them credibility that they are still somehow working for the king and country. They are cashing in on their connections, and this enables them. Given the type of political leaning organisations and people they associate with, this is really dangerous for our relationship with the United States and other countries. Harry is a diplomatic problem waiting to happen. He is an idiot that follows the money, cut from the same cloth as Uncle Andy. The monarchy must separate itself properly from both houses. He will always be the king's son, but any association to the working royals must be ended publicly. Now, I agree that was a real missed opportunity. And I guess this is what I'm talking about. Like this idea, Tash, that the British royal family can keep being almost dictated by events, I don't think is going to stand here. I think this week shows there has to be a more proactive front-facing view. And we'll get to this shortly, of course, but that is the view of Prince William.
Dan Wootton raises a series of claims that deserve closer examination, not because they are sensational, but because of what they imply. In the segment we're reacting to, Dan focuses on a short Instagram-style clip involving Prince Harry and Meghan Markle promoting a chocolate product. He frames it as evidence of a broader dynamic, that Harry is being used, that the relationship is fundamentally imbalanced, and that the public-facing content is not simply awkward marketing, but symbolic of personal decline, coercion, and institutional consequence. From there, the discussion expands into the wider royal crisis, including alleged Epstein-related revelations, heckling of working royals at engagements, and the strategic question of whether King Charles is responding decisively enough, or in a way that leaves the monarchy exposed. Tonight, the goal isn't to react emotionally to any individual, it's to examine the logic of the argument, the incentives that shape this kind of coverage, and the consequences of treating private relationship narratives as political evidence. Don's first move is rhetorical. He takes a small, staged, domestic moment and reads it as a parable of status collapse, a royal reduced to product promotion. That can be a fair observation at a cultural level. Public figures do trade prestige for commercial relevance. Many people will see the contrast between service and merch and feel it viscerally. But notice what happens next. The commentary shifts from optics to certainty. The language becomes categorical. He was forced. He has no choice. There's a metaphorical gun to his head. Those are not small claims. They move beyond critique of PR and into implied coercion inside a marriage, something the audience cannot responsibly conclude from a curated clip. A more defensible analysis would say, the content looks scripted, the brand needs visibility, and Harry's participation suggests alignment with a commercial strategy. That's enough. Once we declare coercion as the explanation, we're no longer analyzing media, we're diagnosing a relationship from a few seconds of footage. And this matters because it trains audiences to treat performance as confession. In celebrity culture, almost everything is performance, including the backlash to it. Don and his guest also interpret details, bare feet, the tray, the framing, the love you, as proof of manipulation and desperation. There's a more mundane possibility. Lifestyle branding thrives on domestic intimacy. It sells access, not just products. The bare feet and informal setting of recognizable influencer language. This is real life. You're in our home. You can argue that it's tasteless, or that it cheapens royal mystique. You can argue it's a poor fit for a Harry's public identity, but the leap from influencer language to humiliation, to coercion, is the key weakness in the argument. This is one of the oldest patterns in media. Symbol inflation, taking a small symbol and making it carry a whole moral universe. It's powerful storytelling, but it can be bad analysis. Don then introduces a contrast. Harry selling chocolate versus Catherine posting a restrained, non-commercial message about cancer and recovery. That contrast is emotionally potent because it sets up to archetypes of restraint, duty, seriousness before commerce. Frivolity. Problem is not the comparison itself. The problem is that it pushes the audience toward a moral verdict that is almost preloaded. Catherine's messaging is framed as emotional intelligence.
It's such a unknown territory in this instance where they're damned if they do, they're damned if they
Correct.
don't.
Absolutely.
If they speak out and they say something wrong or it's twisted or it's misconstrued or they don't answer it in the way that the person asking the question wants, then the media will have a field day. I also think a lot of these people that are being placed that turn up at these events to heckle the royal family, you will probably recognize them, no doubt, from the anti-Republican movement. I can't remember the name of them, the one with the big yellow banners that's always shouting with a megaphone. I believe it's the same people. They want to destabilize the public support for the monarchy, and they use Andrew the same way that they will use Harry to upset the public. And I think there's this constant battle at the moment where mainstream media, in one breath, they want to convince the public that the royals are going to welcome Harry and Meghan back because they know it loses the king's supports. And then also with this, they're saying that they're not doing enough to Andrew. They're not doing enough to Andrew. But the king has done quite a lot to Andrew. He's lost everything. He has lost his titles, his military patronage. I mean, he has lost everything. He has been publicly tarred and feathered. But he also has just been kicked out of Royal Lodge earlier than expected. He was meant to be staying in there until Easter. Now, I have read, and I do believe this, the smiling, perfectly timed paparazzi photographs of Andrew looking smug and happy, riding and waving to the public. Not appropriate. That man is completely tone deaf. He has not learned a single lesson since he appeared with Emily and did the BBC interview. And again, with the royal families, whenever they try and speak out, it tends to go badly. We can't really put Andrew and what Harry and Meghan did the same because it was very self-serving. But are they meant to hold a public interview to say, yes, obviously our thoughts with the victims? They have all individually said that. The Queen has said that. The King has said that. Catherine and William have said that. And I just feel like that this is being used to continuously batter the monarchy at a time when I think there is a coordinated effort at the minute, as I said, to try and destabilize the public support. And I think Andrew is definitely being used, but I can't see there's anything that they can come out and say that they haven't already said. And they have publicly shown that Andrew is now, in all intents and purposes, excommunicado. They have booted him out. He's not going to be seen with them. He has been banished, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, Tash, there are still revelations coming that draw the British deep state into this. So I want to show you this new report from the BBC, which suggests that Andrew's bodyguards probably actually stayed at Epstein's house with him. So what do the bodyguards know? Is this one of the reasons why there hasn't been a police investigation? Watch this.
The revelations kept coming. New emails released in the Epstein files appear to show arrangements being made for the former prince to stay with Epstein in December 2010. Andrew's private secretary asked for the address where Andrew would have been staying and confirmation on whether there is room for both his protection officers at the house. Internal emails between Epstein's staff confirm room for both Andrew's bodyguards, one on the 4th floor and one on the 5th floor.
There's a moral imperative, I would say, for any officer, if he or she saw anything untoward, that surely must have been brought to attention.
The BBC has asked the Metropolitan Police about their officers and have yet to have a response.
I mean, Tash, it's not good, is it? And this is why I tend to think a proactive approach is going to be necessary. I just want to take you through this reporting from Tom Sykes of the Royalist Substack, because he actually says that the King's failure to answer this heckler's question is becoming William's problem, and he fears that it will be another mess for him to clear up. And he writes, my sources say that Charles absolutely does not want his brother to face a police investigation. One former staffer told me the monarchy has shielded Andrew from any accountability for his actions for decades. That's not about to change. A friend of the King told me the entire situation with Andrew is a nightmare, but if he ends up in court, it's only going to get worse. He could inflict enormous reputational damage on the institution. Unsurprisingly, as is the case so often with his father, William disagrees. Friends of the Prince have told me that William would have no hesitation in letting it be known that Andrew should face a proper police investigation if he were king. But then there are two sides to this, Tash, always, because the friend of the King responded to this by telling me it was easy for William to say this when he wasn't actually the King, saying it was a bit like an opposition politician promising the earth when they were not in power. But William, his friends say, earnestly believe that the monarchy and the monarch cannot remain popular and respected if they do not at least even give the appearance of respecting the basic principle that no man is above the law. He may get the opportunity to express himself as soon as next week when he flies to Saudi Arabia with Catherine for their first joint state visit since her cancer diagnosis. The couple are being accompanied on their trip to the murderous regime undertaken at the request of the UK government by journalists. It will be interesting to see how William responds to questions about Andrew if the craven British media class dare ask him. A friend of William's once told me that William was right about Andrew and is right about Harry, who he wants totally exiled from the family. I agree with that. Incredibly, Charles still seems to be leaning toward protecting his brother, believing the institution is best served by shielding its own and not doing its dirty linen washing in public. The official line coming out of the palace is that the King wants Andrew to consult his conscience and decide to cooperate with US authorities, and that there is nothing further he can do. Of course there is. He could say publicly that he is urging his brother to cooperate with US authorities. He could say publicly that the British police should, of course, investigate Andrew just like any other citizen if they suspect criminal behaviour. No one is asking Charles to direct prosecutors or order arrests. The question was whether he believes scrutiny should occur, not whether he control it. A brief statement affirming the independence of the police and primacy of the law would not have broken convention. The images and emails circulating this week of corrupt prince, untroubled and unaccountable, are a mortal threat to the monarchy. Tash, what do you think?
I mean, the bit about airing the dirty laundry, and they're not going to do that. The laundry's already over the road. I mean, this is going far greater than they can't just stick their heads in the sand over this. But again, by saying, well, Prince William, when he goes and he's next, being interviewed in front of reporters, if someone asks the question, the problem is with the royal family, when they go to these engagements and they go to these events, they're there to highlight whatever cause, organisation and charity it is. It's not the time for them to suddenly turn around and have a conversation about this, about Andrew, about Epstein, about any of the revelations that have come out, because it would make every part of their trip or their visit or the organisation, every bit of coverage would then be about Andrew. So I think if they are going to do it, it needs to be completely separated. But I also think the press need to respect that as well. I do think that there does need to be, if that is what William truly believes, I do think that it needs to be a lot more open. I don't know. I mean, obviously Tom Sykes has his contacts. I do not. But to say that the King is going to cover for his brother or he wants to protect his brother, I don't know how true that is for me to really comment on it. But going off of Tom's article, that's horrifying if the King does feel that way. If that is true, that the King is still, after everything that's coming out, he still wants to protect his brother, then that again will turn my attitude towards the King. But again, this is what I'm saying. This is what a lot of these stories coming out are designed to do. They're to make you angry at the wrong people. And I don't know about you, Dan, but I'm so sick about just hearing about Andrew with all of this that's going on at the moment. You know, I do think there are a lot of other people that should be having their names, their lives, everything put into the public domain. They should be having their personal lives torn apart, photographs revealed. The public are getting tired. It's all we've had for the last 5 years. It's Andrew, Andrew, Andrew. We know. And whilst I don't want him to get away with anything, and I think he does need to be involved in a police investigation, at the same time, constantly using Andrew and the royal family, I can't help but feel is a massive deflection from stopping people talking about some of the other bigger players that are involved.
Well, yeah, it's only been Brits who've lost everything and who have been punished, isn't it? Look, let's do a palate cleanse, Tash.
Yes,
there was a
please.
cute little moment this week where Princess Catherine revealed a new addition to her family. This was reported by Hello magazine, which wrote, the Princess of Wales revealed that the royal family has welcomed a new addition in a rare insight into home life during that visit on Tuesday. She was seen gushing over the English Cocker Spaniel Barney, and the adoration was clear because she crouched down and said, "You are lovely. We have the same breed of dog." Catherine was asked, "How old are yours?" To which she responds, "We've got a little puppy. He's only 8 months and all is 5. So this is lovely, isn't it?
It is lovely news. When we saw the photograph, I think it was for Father's Day, of Prince William with the puppies. Do you remember? And they were giving Prince William and Catherine backlash, saying, "Oh, they're running a puppy farm," which was ridiculous. But they allowed their dog Orla to have a litter of puppies. And there has been footage recently of them coming, I think, back to Windsor. They've been away somewhere, the family, and a lot of people on social media had spotted that there were another set of paws on the ground. So this is great to have confirmation of it. So it's clearly obvious they decided to keep one of Orla's puppies with her. But yeah, no, I love, who doesn't love a puppy story? I mean, come on, everybody loves a puppy, right? And if they don't,
I know,
well.
new home as well, new home, new puppy.
Yeah,
It's very,
cute.
very sweet. Very
That was
sweet.
a great palate cleanser, Dan.
Yes, it was. But
Changed my whole
Tash,
mood.
oh my goodness, I have real juice for you, real juice about how Meghan Markle used Omid Scobie, who is back, by the way, to directly influence the British mainstream media. Finally, the whistle has been blown on this by Vanessa Feltz, of all people. So what we're going to do, I've got video of this. Honestly, I have suspected this for such a long time. I am so happy it's been proven.
Harris as ham and mug. The viewer is guided toward one conclusion. One side is authentic, the other is degraded dots, but from an investigative standpoint, we should ask, what's the incentive structure here? Catherine's role, by definition, rewards steadiness and symbolism without sales. Harry and Meghan's post-royal model, by definition, requires attention and revenue. If you judge one with the moral criteria of the other, the outcome is predetermined. So the real question isn't which is nobler. It's what happens when a royal brand exits an institution built to manufacture legitimacy and has to manufacture and legitimacy in the open market instead. That is the underlying story, and it's more interesting than marriage psychology. The conversation then broadens into the week's wider crisis: public heckling of senior royals, claims about Andrew and potential law enforcement questions, and allegations that the institution is being destabilized by coordinated groups. Dan reads the heckling as evidence of a monarchy is in control of its narrative, and he cites arguments that the palace should be more proactive. Here, there is a legitimate institutional dilemma. Public silence can look like evasion, yet speaking can amplify the scandal and turn every engagement into a referendum on Andrew. Both outcomes carry risk. However, there's another pattern worth naming. When a scandal becomes all-consuming, it can be used as a blunt instrument, not only to demand accountability where it is warranted, but also to score factional points, settle rivalries, or redirect blame. If everything becomes proof that one faction is evil and another is heroic, the audience stops asking the most important investigative questions. What is actually documented? And what is inference? What is alleged? And what is verified in court? Who benefits from each narrative frame? And why now? Accountability is essential, but accountability theatre is not the same thing as accountability. Dan suggests via reported sources and commentary, that William's instincts may be more confrontational than Charles's, more willing to accept scrutiny, the price of legitimacy. That's plausible as a strategic argument. In the modern era, institutions survive by proving they're not above rules, but even that has limits. The monarchy's credibility won't be restored by a single statement or a single distancing maneuver. The only durable repair would come from a consistent standard, clear boundaries, transparent processes where possible, and the end of selective exceptionalism, without turning justice into a media circus. So what does this segment really tell us? It tells us that we're living in a moment where monarchy, celebrity, and scandal are converging into one ecosystem, and where small content is used to tell big stories. Don's framing is compelling because it offers certainty, villains, victims, humiliation, control. But the calmer, more responsible reading that we're watching competing systems of legitimacy collide. Inherited authority versus commercial branding, institutional restraint versus market-driven exposure. And the real stakes aren't whether a chocolate clip is cute or cringe. The stakes are what happens when public trust collapses and when narrative warfare replaces careful scrutiny. If we want accountability, we should demand it with discipline, separate what is alleged from what is proven, keep incentives in view, and resist turning performance into proof. That's how an intelligent audience stays ahead of the story, instead of being carried by it.